Years ago.
Was it an explosion? Did we come from a glob of goo?
If you look at creationism, you realize it's the only possible answer to all the questions.
What finally made me into an atheist was the realization that there was no scientific reason to believe in any sort of supernatural creator.
But you're a scientist.
I am. My love for science doesn't preclude my faith. For me, science is another language we use to talk about the same miracles that faith talks about.
Nora, am I judging you if I say you're condemned already? Of course.
Yeah, apparently evolution's a lie and we're all sinners and going to hell.
So the narrative would like you to see it as two sides, black and white with no gray. On one side, there are people who do not accept the theory of evolution and the Big Bang due to literal religious interpretations. And then on the other side, you have people who do not accept a creator or higher power because science doesn't prove the existence of one. Well, I don't see proof of a higher power, so it must not exist. Well, I don't see a curve, so it must not exist. So, yeah, you have a certain group of people within literal religious interpretations, and we'll get to those. The point is, the narrative would like you to think that you're either on one side or the other. But I know, especially from fellow colleagues and many others that I know, it's a very gray area, and it really doesn't matter. As a passionate astronomer, telescope user, and astrophotographer, my expertise is the sky, the constellations, and knowing how and where to find cool stuff. I even have my own website dedicated to sharing that passion, and I frequently share my newest pictures on social media. I love learning about the creativity and wonder behind what's up in the sky, the planets, the stars, galaxies, black holes, all that stuff. But I'm also a Christian. And I don't consider myself religious in the sense of legalistic rituals, but I am part of a congregation. And the people there are more like a second family, and the pastor himself is very supportive of what I do. And yeah, there are a few at the congregation who are very bah humbug over the Big Bang Theory and the scientific age of the universe. But come Christmas time, they love hearing my explanation of what the Star of Bethlehem could have been, in a natural astronomy sense.
I don't have an issue with what you do in the church, but I'm going to be up in your face if you're going to knock on my science classroom and tell me that I got to teach what you're teaching in your Sunday school, because that's when we're going to fight.
So what is the motivation to try to take a religious philosophy and influence what goes on in science? Again, I'm an educator, so I'm here to tell you the consequence of that. If you substitute religious philosophy for science, there will be a generation of people who will not understand what science is. And they will be intellectually crippled from contributing to what the centuries have demonstrated to be the most efficient engine of economic growth that has ever been devised.
I am 100% in the belief of the separation between church and state. We don't need a theocratic government like in Muslim-ruled countries. And we don't need a government like China deciding what, where, and when we're allowed to worship. But of course, the line is the cause of the divide, because of science advocates saying, well, don't shove your religion down our throats. Keep your Sunday school stories out of the science class. That turns into people on the opposite side saying, well, you're taking God and our religious freedoms away. No, you scientists shouldn't teach anything in secular sanctioned locations that goes against my religion. So it's just the nature of it. Even if there is no ill will, people get pissed when another from the other side pisses them off.
But they have failed! It's the same people who again and again have brought us to the brink of destruction, who've polluted our air, who've poisoned our water. Now these scientists have had their chance. Are these the kind of people that you want talking to your God for you?
Now the part that makes everything about this bullshit is this. You're not considered Christian enough to some of these nut jobs if you still accept the processes of evolution and are not a young earth creationist. But you're also not considered enlightened enough by certain religious skeptics if you still believe in a higher power. The ironic thing is, with many atheists and agnostics in the scientific world who think people believe in God are stupid, I have bigger battles and issues with young earth creationists like Kent Hovind than I do with people like Richard Dawkins. Pretty much all my atheist agnostic colleagues who are aware of my Christian beliefs, they don't mind. They know I'm not crazy in the religious nut sense, and obviously I wouldn't work with them if I didn't have that base scientific knowledge. And I get why people like Dawkins think people who believe in God are stupid, and is puzzled by people who are scientifically sophisticated that still believe in one. When his life's work on evolutionary biology is often told by religious folk, especially young earth creationists, that he's wrong and deceiving people and evil, then of course he's going to say, screw you, and fire back. I myself am sick of closed-minded people who argue that science is trying to take away God and phase God out of society. These people clearly have no idea how science is supposed to work, and don't have a clue on any of the theories they criticize, yet they tell kids in charter schools that they're false doctrines. It's not just flat earthers, it's people who cry out, show us evidence! And then when we present them the evidence based on numerous successful experiments and observations, then they claim our evidence is false and use pseudoscience and incorrect math as their evidence. Rinse, lather, repeat, wash, spin, dry. So in my experience, I've concluded something to live by. Science doesn't care what you believe. Faith is evidence of your beliefs. Belief in a book that's thousands of years old describing beliefs made before we began to understand what goes on naturally. Guess what? Science doesn't care. Believe it all you want, but when actual scientific evidence falls in line with your beliefs or not, science doesn't care. The evidence doesn't care what you believe spiritually. I don't speak scientific theories in front of my congregation, and I don't speak Christianese to my coworkers and people that I meet while operating public telescopes. You want to hear my beliefs? I'll tell them, as long as we're both civil about it. But if you're looking for a Christian versus atheist fight, then I have nothing I need to say to you. My fight isn't with you when it comes to my passion for astronomy. Modern atheist agnostic scientists who advocate against religion, they still respect the role Christians had in science in the last 2 millennia. Who preserved scientific knowledge from the ancient Greeks during the Dark Ages in Europe? Christian monks and monasteries. Who was the biggest financial supporter of astronomy and actually had a hand in creating our modern Gregorian calendar, the calendar we all use? The Catholic Church. The Big Bang Theory was conceived by a Jesuit Catholic priest named Georges Lemaitre. Isaac Newton, Johannes Kepler, the laws of gravity and planetary motion, they were Christians. Galileo and Copernicus, Catholic. Max Planck and Werner Heisenberg, the creators of quantum physics, Lutherans. You had Alan Sandage, the person who determined the first reasonably accurate values for the Hubble constant and the scientific age of the universe. He eventually became a Christian after these findings. So yes, it's ironic when you have literal biblical flat earthers who claim that science has been deceiving people away from God, when it was people who believed in God in some form or another who laid the groundwork for modern science. It's just another proof that these people have no clue what they're talking about. And they're the ones who say, do your own research. In the scientific consensus, the most liberal estimates between scientists who believe in a higher power and those who don't, it's about 40% yes, while 60% are either absolutely not or just doubt the existence. You also could still believe in a higher power but doubt the existence, so the numbers really vary. If anything, it proves it's just a matter of personal belief, not necessarily scientific fact. So, the only anti-God teachings are in the mind of the religious people who claim science is anti-God, and the anti-religious folk who say, oh yeah, we're anti-God. Science itself, the mechanisms behind it, and how we do our experiments and observations, science doesn't care. It only cares if the experiments are done correctly. And if the math lines up, all the hypotheses are successfully predicted, all the variables are accounted for, no matter how correct the experiment is, it still doesn't prove nor disprove a creator. You want to believe in one? Go ahead, as long as you're not using it as justification to murder people, mistreat women, or rape children. You don't want to believe in one and you think people who do are stupid? Go ahead and believe it. Just don't be a dick when you show your skepticism. At the end of the day, I think we can all agree we just want a rational, reasonable thinking and enlightened world. But as long as people on both sides of the fence continue to clash, even though I would be the Matthew McConaughey, for every Jodie Foster in Contact there's a Jake Busey, then this will always be an uphill battle. You enjoy what I had to say in this video, please share the heck out of it. I'm your heavy metal astronomer, Desert Coyote 22. Thanks for watching.